Okay. I know a bunch of people are still joining, but since we only have an hour together, I will go ahead and just kick things off. So thank you to everyone who has joined us for our first event in our Aspire Higher speaker series. We're really excited about this series, which will bring together top brands like Coola and Brooklinen, who are with us today, as well as investors and thought leaders to share their perspectives on how and why brands should invest in building deeper relationships with the people who love them most. So we're thrilled to kick off this series today with a discussion about the evolution of influence. And we have Maggie McNeil from Brooklinen and Michaela Gannon from Coola, as well as Arpan Ray, who's the principal and COO at Coefficient Capital, as our moderator today. So before I hand it over to Arpan, I'd just like to take a quick moment to encourage everyone to submit any questions you have for the panelists in the Zoom chat during any time throughout the panel. If something comes to mind, just submit it there. We'll gather them, and then assuming we have some extra time at the end, we will answer those. And you can also ask the question live at the end if you'd like, but feel free to chat them in as well, and we'll take them from there. So with that, I will introduce Arpan Ray, who is as I said, a principal and chief operating officer at Coefficient Capital, which leads growth investments in digitally powered consumer brands. Arpan joined Coefficient Capital at the firm's inception and has helped lead investments in fast-growing brands for the new consumer, including Nom Nom, Just Spices, and Hydrant. Prior to joining Coefficient, Arpan was a consumer investor at Centerview Capital, where he helped lead investments in several consumer brands, including Old Smoky, Big Heart Pet Brands, and Del Monte. Arpan also worked at Verlinvest, hopefully I said that right, where he partnered with brands including Sir Kensington's, Vita Coco, and Oatly. Arpan started his career working in consumer and retail investment banking at Wells Fargo Securities. So he has a lot of expertise in this space, and we are honored to include him not just as a moderator for this discussion, but also as an expert and thought leader in his own right in supporting consumer brands with a digital first mindset. And that definitely applies to both of our panelists today. So Arpan, thank you for joining us and hosting this discussion, and I will turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much for the intro, Allison. I'm very excited to be here today and be a part of this conversation and have two phenomenal brand builders here to share their perspectives. As a little background, so as Allison mentioned, Coefficient, we focus on consumer brands that create competitive advantage, largely through the digitalization of the consumer journey. And I think a big part of this, our brands are on the forefront of developing these super rich digital communities of engaged consumers. And we think this is ultimately one of the best ways to build brand love and advocacy at the most authentic level. And today's topic is the evolution of influence. And I'm sure all of you in the audience recognize there's been an incredible evolution of influencer marketing over the past decade. And even, just looking at the past few years. We've seen influencer marketing go from just only really a small handful of brands doing it at all to almost everyone doing it, but a tendency to be a bit superficial. But today we're seeing a few brands that are really, really good at it. And it's a great way to unlock long-term sustainable growth. And I think two best-in-class examples of this is Coola and Brooklinen. So thankfully here today we have Maggie McNeil from Brooklinen and Michaela Gannon from Coola. Just kick it off. Can you each tell us a little bit about your companies and your roles there?
Yeah, of course. Hi, I'm Maggie McNeil. I am the Senior Associate of Influencer Marketing at Brooklinen, and I've been at Brooklinen for about 4 years now, kind of in a variety of different roles to get where I am today. So I started in customer service and then went on to run their social media, where I kind of dipped my toes in the whole influencer marketing space. And now I focus primarily on influencer marketing, specializing in micro influencers. And as far as Brooklinen, it was founded in 2014 to make the most comfortable sheets at a great price. And since then, we've expanded beyond the bedroom into bathrooms and living rooms and even your closet. But we're just committed to delivering products that make you feel super comfortable at home.
Hi, I'm Michaela. I'm the brand marketing director at Coola. Coola is an organic sun care company in San Diego, and essentially we make healthy sun care that people love to wear every day. I've been with Coola about 4 years now, and in my current role, I oversee the brand's strategy across all channels, including influencer, PR and media, events, retail, and social.
Great. Thank you again, Maggie and Michaela. I think when most people hear the term influencer marketing, they think of celebrities, they think of big endorsement deals. However, I think we all see that micro influencers tend to have much higher engagement rates. Have you moved towards working with smaller influencers? Why not? Michaela, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. So we've always primarily worked with micro influencers because they have the smaller audience. They're able to interact with their followers more frequently, via likes and follows, and actually respond to questions and comments. Essentially they're better at connecting with their audiences on a more personal level than, say, like a celebrity. So it's almost like you're relying on a friend's recommendation, which we all know is incredibly valuable. That's not to say we don't work with macro influencers, but it's on a much smaller scale. In the past, we really haven't had the budget to pay to post. Between that and our focus on credible content, we've seen really great success, primarily working with micro influencers, and we've built some really great relationships with them as well.
So I would say that we never turn away an influencer due to their size. We really look to see that they have a genuine connection with an audience and an aesthetic that aligns to our larger goals. And, most importantly, we also want to make sure that their values resonate with ours. That's really what we're looking for. And this tactic has been pretty successful, so that micro influencers now kind of represent the majority of who we work with, kind of like Michaela said, just because of their engagement and their loyal following. We just find that working with influencers with higher engagement leads to, sales and brand recognition since their audience is so engaged. They just have more of an interest in our company and what we have to offer.
Right. Interesting. So it sounds like for both Coola and Brooklinen, the focus is more towards micro influencers. I'm curious, Maggie, at Brooklinen, are there any specific types of influencers that you've started prioritizing in the recent years?
So at first we kind of started out in the home space because, bedding, obviously, but now we've kind of transitioned into more lifestyle influencers, especially since rolling out these new products, like loungewear and towels and things like that. So we've kind of started to test influencers that focus both on food and fashion, which has been really interesting. We've kind of found that food accounts tend to perform well. We kind of started testing them out with a story, and they can, talk about why rest is important, or maybe make breakfast in their loungewear. So this kind of showed us that people outside of our core focus areas can also perform well. Everyone wants to be cozy, and sleep is important to everyone. So
Agree. I don't know who can say no to loungewear these days. So when I look at brands, I usually ask myself, who influences the consumer's buying decision, right? Outside of, I guess, social media influencers, what are some other groups you consider to be, influential for your brand? Michaela, do you want to kick off first?
Sure. So, our customers and our employees are certainly influential in their own right. Personally, other people's opinions hold value for me when I'm trying to make a purchase. I'm much more inclined to buy something when a friend or family member would make that recommendation. People trust people over brands, and that's where word of mouth marketing is certainly invaluable. We do partner with dermatologists to give us more credibility within the beauty space. They're the experts on skincare and sun care, and so people trust their recommendations. Actually, over the last few weeks, we've been working with a well-known dermatologist to host virtual Zoom meetings with several beauty editors. It's been really great to see this dermatologist speak highly of our brand and explain the technology behind our products, and it's certainly been resonating well with the editors.
Yeah, so our customers and employees are very influential when it comes to our brand. I know that me personally, I'm always recommending, sheets to friends if they sleep too hot or too cold, and kind of help out, which could help them sleep better. And especially if we launch
Hmm.
something new and I think they're going to enjoy it, I'm always letting people know about it. But we also see a lot of customers that kind of start off purchasing sheets and then they come back for towels and then come back for loungewear, and they just keep purchasing something new, especially when we launch these new products. And these customers will also post on their social media, which is always exciting, and just share their love for the brand with their followers and their friends and family. So
Yeah, it's very cool to hear that for both of you, some of your biggest advocates are actually your employees. I'd love to take a step back and maybe hear other ways your approach to influencer marketing has really evolved maybe over the past few years. Maggie, you want to, your thoughts first?
yeah, sure. So we've really been able to see like what types of influencers perform well for our different products. Some influencers might perform better with bedding, while others might perform better with loungewear. We've also found that kind of grouping these categories together really helps. So maybe we'll have an influencer post about towels and a candle, or bedding and loungewear, just because like people are able to see a variety of what we offer in that one post or story. So that's been really helpful. And then we also have internal data that we use to track the performance. So this is pretty new for us in the past couple months, but we're able to kind of break it out by category and vertical. And we really weren't able to see this before. So for example, we learned that, moms tend to perform really well when it comes to loungewear. So kind of really like diving even deeper into these analytics and who we work with, just so we can make more educated decisions.
So in full transparency, for Coola 2 years ago, our influencer marketing was complete chaos. Like we really didn't have the proper tools to keep things organized or hold our influencers accountable. Like it was very much the Wild West. However, we did know influencer marketing was important for our brand, and we knew that changes should be made. So one of the first steps was to sign on with Aspire. This really helped us streamline the whole process of managing our influencers and ensuring that content was always on brand. Once that was in place, we were then able to dive more into the analytics to track performance and understand what influencers we should be working with and which influencers we shouldn't be working with. So I'm happy to say that as embarrassing as our influencer program might have been 2 years ago, we have since scaled the program 10 times to what it had been. Like we now work with over 750 influencers on a monthly basis. And it's been super exciting to see this growth in the area and to now actually have analytics to help guide our future influencer marketing strategies.
That's really interesting. I guess speaking of analytics, so how do you measure success when it comes to influencer marketing? And has the metrics you look at, they evolved also? Maggie, you want to start?
Yeah, so we used to only focus on promo code redemptions when we first started influencer marketing. And now we rely on promo codes, UTM links, and a post-purchase survey that's kind of a little bit new to us. So after a customer makes a purchase, they can actually write in if they heard from us from Instagram or from an influencer and write a specific influencer's name. So that's been really cool to see, because maybe an influencer posted about us 6 months ago or something, but we're still seeing these sales come in. So that's been very cool to see.
Yeah, and for us, engagement and reach are both important metrics for us, though we do prioritize engagement since this really measures how many people are actually connecting and interacting with our content. We also will look to see how many people are using the UTM links. We'll keep track of the number of purchases made when influencers get unique discount codes. And then finally, like the content itself is very important. Like we repurpose it across all of the channels. And this has saved Coola a lot of money since we no longer have to organize those regular photo shoots.
Right. So it's really interesting to see how much has changed, I guess, just in the past 2 years. And it sounds like, I think we're all hearing that the whole business of influencer marketing is really institutionalized in the past few years. I guess if you're looking maybe a few years into the future, what else you might think may change? Michaela?
Well, for us, like in the past, we solely relied on sending product to our influencers in exchange for some social media love. We're going to continue to do this. We certainly see the value in working with micro influencers, but we are going to be looking to work with a select group of macro influencers in this coming year to help boost brand awareness. We're still kind of figuring out what that looks like, but most likely it will be an ongoing relationship with a handful of influencers who already love our brand and use it regularly. We really want the relationship to feel as authentic as possible.
So I would say 2 years ago, this channel was really just a test for us. So we didn't really invest heavily with money, but still did a lot of just product for post during that time. And we're really just trying to build awareness and get our name out there with our core demographic. With our core demographic. And then we also, we focused kind of more on our hero, like sheep collection, just because that's kind of what we were known for at first. So that's what we wanted to kind of get our name out there for. But now we've kind of had the opportunity to build out long-term relationships with these influencers. So kind of the entirety of the Brooklinen brand is shared with their audience. And we have a higher saturation of awareness within our core demographic, and that really allows us to be more creative with our messaging and campaign focuses, as well as test out new audiences. So.
Interesting. So as you think about building a larger, more global brand, how does Brooklinen and Coola think about marketing mix? From what I've seen, there's a lot of brands I see they're looking at experimenting with different types of components of the marketing channel mix. I think we've all seen obviously brands pulling spend from Facebook, some experimenting more with TikTok, getting into podcasts. Maggie and then Mikkel, I'd love to hear how your brands are maybe starting to look at different channels.
Yeah, so we've mainly just focused on Instagram, but we're definitely starting to test out TikTok and Pinterest, just because we know these are growing channels. And I know a lot of brands have had success when it comes to Pinterest, and we just want to be sure we're not missing out on like a social channel that could be really performing well for us. And as far as Facebook, we really do have a stacked marketing team that looks after each of these channels when it comes to paid. So we mainly focus on Instagram, so I can't really speak to their tactics when it comes to Facebook.
Right.
Yeah, and for Coola, for paid social, we're still predominantly spending within Facebook. However, we're starting to test investment in YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest. Next year, we'll be looking at podcasts, connected TV. For influencer marketing, we're still mainly focused on Instagram as well, but we have begun testing TikTok and Pinterest.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how TikTok evolves as a marketing channel in the next few years. Switching gears a little bit, as we all know, I guess consumers can tend to be a little skeptical of influencer marketing. How does that impact your strategy?
So we have a few strategies that help keep our influencer marketing authentic and genuine. First off, we're extremely selective about the influencers that we partner with. Like, not only do we want to work with someone that is actually really excited about our brand, but we also want to work with influencers that are our target consumer. So if our influencer is our target consumer, most likely their audience is going to be as well. And this really makes sure that that content produced truly hits home. Second, we leave room for influencer creativity. While we know it's important to have key messaging and campaign goals, we do want the content to feel genuine. And in order to do this, it must fit the feed and complement that influencer's content and personality. Like, their followers are gonna know when an influencer is being real and when they're not. And finally, we build long-lasting relationships with our influencers. When an influencer is consistently talking about our brand, that starts to begin to feel more and more authentic, and the message is really embedded into their audience's mind.
So I would say ours is pretty similar, just really creating those long-term partnerships and staying away from those one-off collaborations has really helped us to combat this trend. So instead of, an influencer posting about our products once, we want to create relationships with them and have them experience all of the items that we have to offer. So we might start with bedding and then have them try out bath and loungewear. I just think knowing the influencer trusts our brand and what we have to offer is just really helpful and reassuring.
Right. I guess digging into that a little bit more, it sounds like you're both very focused on alignment, authenticity, long-term partnerships. Can you share a little bit more about your approach to building these long-term relationships with influencers?
Sure. So when we find an influencer partnership that's clearly working for us, we invest in keeping that relationship strong. And we run campaigns pretty frequently. So the influencer is generally always working on an active campaign with us. But when they're not, we're checking in with them. We're sending surprise and delights. We're engaging in their content. Like, we want it to be a win-win for both of us.
I think it's helped our brand to have a presence and letting others know that this really is a quality of product that a lot of people stand behind. So by creating these relationships, we're really making room for influencers to share this with their audience and let their followers know like why they keep coming back to us and why they should try it as well. And some of these influencers, we've been working with them for 3 years. So when we have a new product, we can really connect with their audience and say, you all know I love Brooklinen, and they just came out with this, so I had to try it out. And as I said earlier, these people genuinely use each of our products in their day-to-day life. They sleep with us, they shower with us, they lounge with us. So when we launch a new product, they are eager to try it out because it is such a natural fit into their lives.
Interesting. So it sounds like a key to success is when, I guess, the consumer sees your brand multiple times, different settings, different product lines over, like, an extended period of time. I guess coming back to the point on authenticity and alignment, what's your advice for developing these genuine connections with influencers?
I'd say just building genuine connections. It's just really great to check in with influencers and see how they're liking the product, instead of just saying, we like your page, here's the sheets, please post it about us. We really get to know them and give them options of what products that they want to tell their audience about and make sure that they come out of this partnership with a good experience. And although we aren't able to do this now, we always try to have a couple of events where we invite our influencers located in the New York area. So sometimes we just speak with them via email or phone. So really making that in-person connection so they know who you are and who they're working with really helps.
Yeah, and for us, just like any relationship, we believe influencer marketing should be a two-way street. So, it's important that we're also helping them hit their own professional goals. Some of the ways that we can do this is by offering unique discount codes for them to share with their communities, supporting with product giveaways on their social pages, reposting their content, whether it's on our feed or in our stories. We've also invited them to take over our IGTV or even do a blog post. We really want to build relationships with our influencers, and we try to do what we can to help support their professional growth as well.
Okay. What are some key trends you think influencer marketing industry is going in the future? Michaela?
So I would call out 3 trends. First, I think consumers will be influenced by influencers more than ever because we just don't have the same shopping experience as we used to. Many of us are at home, we're scrolling through our feed, learn about new products and get inspired versus being in a store. Second, consumers are also hungry for longer content as a source of entertainment. So they're looking at IGTV videos, longer captions, YouTube, clearly TikTok. And finally, I'm seeing this theme of influencers using their voice more than ever to educate their followers about social issues, health practices, and politics.
I would say that 2 things kind of come to mind for me. Like Michaela was saying, it seems like videos are just really going to be taking over, especially with TikTok. It started with an Instagram story and then IGTV. But there's also YouTube. So everything's just super popular in videos right now. And I also just think that micro influencers are going to continue to dominate the space just due to their smaller following and loyalty.
Interesting. So maybe two last questions I have to wrap things up. In your opinion, what makes bad influencer marketing?
I think the bad influencer marketing is kind of giving the influencer very restricted guidelines. So if you have talking points that have to be said in a specific way or a specific photo inspiration you want them to recreate, I think that this can kind of make the influencer feel like you don't trust them. The reason we work with influencers is because of what they offer. They offer a voice and a platform that maybe you're not reaching. So if you're stifling that, it's not really benefiting either party.
Yeah, I agree. And for us, like bad influencer marketing happens when something doesn't feel authentic. So essentially when an influencer's brand's not aligning with our brand core message and standards, like when it feels forced, it's not working.
Interesting. And I guess the flip side of that question, what makes good influencer marketing?
I'd say that good influencer marketing is kind of what we've been talking about, just having a relationship with the influencer and making sure that they are happy with the partnership. We want it to be beneficial for both parties. So just keeping that in perspective and realizing, that they really are putting their time and effort into this. We just really try to go above and beyond to be sure that everyone's happy and that it is mutually beneficial.
Yeah, I totally agree with Maggie. Like, I think it's working when you have on-brand influencers, you're building authentic relationships, and you're also sourcing some really great content.
Interesting. So that was incredibly insightful. It was really interesting to hear so many, I guess, common themes throughout the conversation. And I guess from what I heard, a big part of the success is having the right relationships, right, with the influencers. Long-term, deep relationships, genuine, authentic, across multiple product lines, have strong alignment, mutually beneficial. I think we can all recognize that's really hard and definitely really hard to scale. But it sounds like if you can figure out the right capabilities, the right technology, the right systems and processes, you can scale this, it's actually really special and very defensible. And I think the brands that do figure this out can unlock long-term sustainable growth. So thank you again, Mikhail and Maggie, for sharing your thoughts. I think everyone has a lot to take away from this conversation, but I'll pause here. I think we have a lot of Q&A from the audience, so I'll pass it off to Allison to see if we have any questions from the audience.
Yes, thank you. We've gotten a bunch of questions in. I think some of these we hopefully answered in the discussion about how the industry's changed and measuring ROI with influencers. I think we touched on both of those. But one question that's actually kind of just getting to the basics is someone asked, how do you decide who qualifies as a micro influencer versus a macro influencer? So I don't know if each of you can speak to sort of like how you draw those lines. I know there's not necessarily a universal standard in the industry.
I can go first. So I guess a micro influencer for us would be considered like 5,000 to maybe like 100,000 followers, and a macro influencer would be maybe like 100,000 to 1,000,000. We don't. We'll work with anyone as long as they're true to the brand. I know nano influencers are also kind of becoming a little bit of a trend, and that's something that we're going to be looking into. And nano, for those who don't know, nano would be anyone under 5,000 followers.
I would have to agree. I was going to say maybe anywhere from like 100 to 250,000 followers and below for micro. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. So around that like 100K line. Okay, cool. And then another question we had, which actually we've discussed as well, is someone asked how your internal influencer team is structured, and maybe you can each just talk about how influencer fits in with the broader marketing team, and a little bit about where your team sits and how you work together. Maggie, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I'll start this time. So we are in the marketing channel, but we actually recently switched over just because we did see a lot of sales come in, and we realized that this channel is really working well for us. So we kind of switched over to the marketing team just to keep a really close eye on this, and kind of like I was speaking about those analytics that, are really just able to like get down to, see who really, really performs well. But on our team right now, there's only 3 of us. So I'm mainly focused on Aspire IQ and micro influencers, whereas my boss focuses a lot on the macro influencer side. And then we have another person who's also focused on the micro influencers. So we just kind of, tag team and work on, right now we're kind of splitting up our campaigns just based on products. So, we'll have one for bath and then bedding. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting as the team grows to see how we're going to split everything up.
Yeah, and for Coola, right now there's two of us, and we work on like the brand marketing and traditional marketing side. So we not only work on influencer, but we do, you know, the events and the experiential and the PR and media. So we don't actually have anyone fully dedicated to influencer right now. But as this continues to grow within our company, I'm sure that that's in the direction we're heading.
Great, thank you both. So we got a question about TikTok and about some of the rumors about data security and, you know, possibly being shut down or companies limiting employees' access to TikTok. And I don't know, I'm not a TikTok expert. We do have some TikTok experts at Aspire. I'm not one of them. Arpan, I don't know if you have any insight from what you're hearing in the industry about companies working with TikTok. I think that the general theme that we hear is that, like, you know, definitely the idea of short form video is not going anywhere, regardless of the company or the form that takes. I cannot speak specifically to TikTok, but I don't know if any of you guys have additional insight or how you're thinking about that risk as you contemplate investing more in that channel.
Yeah, I'll have to share like a few initial thoughts. I think it's very hard to tell kind of what the future of TikTok looks like. I think when anyone looking at the news, it's always in the headlines. There's always this risk, underlying risk. So it's definitely, I think, created a lot of hesitancy from brands really committing meaningful resources into TikTok so far. But I do think, you know, TikTok's kind of unique, at least compared to Instagram. I agree with the short-term video, but also just it's a great, I think, awareness channel. You know, people aren't really, at least for now, aren't really, you know, going to conversion to purchase yet on TikTok as much at scale. But I do think, you know, some brands have had these really incredible viral campaigns that, you know, gotten awareness with millions and millions of people. And I think that's pretty interesting. So I think brands are going to experiment a little bit in the near term. There's definitely concerns about the future of TikTok from a security and, you know, governance standpoint. And I don't think anyone really knows the full answer there, but I do encourage brands to dabble in it, experiment with it, but maybe not the time to commit, you know, meaningful long-term resource to it, at least for now.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, I will keep going down this list. So another person asked a question about budgeting for an influencer marketing program. So if you're at a startup company and you're just looking to start investing in influencer, how would you think about budgeting for that? If each of you can talk, I know, you, Maggie, you basically started influencer marketing at Brooklinen. How did you think about getting budget for those first influencer programs? How would you advise someone who's just getting started?
Yeah, so I think I touched on this a little bit, but I really just did a lot of product for post at the beginning. Just hoping that someone would post in their story and and just get our name out there. So I think that that's a really good way to start. And then even from there, you can see who does perform well or who gets really great engagement, and does this photo perform well on our social page. So I think I would really try to stick to product for post. I would say I did that maybe the first 6 months, and then kind of slowly worked my way up. So as far as budget in the first year, I don't even remember how much we spent. I know it wasn't too much, but I would say try product for post at first, and I think you'll go from there.
Yeah, and it was the same for Coola. And to be honest, it still is. Like, we send product for people to post. So really, like, the costs are associated with the product itself and then shipping.
Awesome. Okay, thank you both. So Michaela, I know you spoke to how you've really scaled your influencer program and started working with, hundreds of influencers at a time. Maggie, I don't know if you can speak to this question about how many influencers you work with at a time, but that was another one that we had submitted from the audience.
Yeah, so, I think my goal just for me is around 75 influencers a month. And I would say as a whole, as a team, it's about 120 to 150 a month. So Michaela, I have a lot of questions for you and how you work with seven. So, but yeah, I would say 150, but we're definitely looking to scale that in the next couple months. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, and to clarify a little bit, I mean, we're running pretty frequent campaigns. We run at least 4 a month. So each campaign has about 250 influencers. So that's kind of how we get closer to that 750 number.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so this is a great question from Gabriella. She asks, how do you handle a relationship, an influencer relationship, or another type of relationship maybe, that is no longer beneficial for your brand?
This is a good question. Very delicately. For us, you know, it's just being honest and transparent with them that like we appreciate where, you know, what they've done for us in the past, but we're heading in different directions. You know, we try to keep it upbeat and friendly because it can be a hard conversation to have for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think we handle it the same way. It is very difficult. You know, maybe if it's like the first time we're working with someone and it doesn't really perform well, we'll see if they're maybe interested in a product for post, just so we're not, you know, wasting any money on that. But yeah, you do have to be upbeat, but definitely transparent, just letting them know that, you know, hey, this didn't perform as well as we'd like for it to, you know, definitely delicately. Keeping everyone happy.
Yeah, that's
but then like I don't know, who knows, because it's like maybe things change in the future for them and they could work out. So we always say, you know, we'll reach out if anything changes on our end. So
yeah. Okay, awesome. So we had another question about if you guys have any thoughts on consumer to consumer influencers in the form of like loyalty or referral programs. So refer a friend for X dollars off your purchase, something like that. Are either of you running any programs like that you can speak to?
Yeah, we have a referral program for our customers. I think for everyone that uses your specific code, I think you get, I don't know, maybe $5 or something. That's not totally in my wheelhouse, so I'm not too sure. But yeah, I feel like we've had that for a couple of years and it's been working well.
Yeah, and we have a loyalty program, but it's not necessarily a referral program per se. It's something, you know, will be looking at in this coming year, but I don't have a ton of feedback right now.
Okay. So we got a few questions about compensation for influencers. So I'm going to try to kind of group these together, so bear with me. But Adi asked about, you know, you both have mentioned sending product for posts, but shared that they're not seeing many influencers with, you know, anywhere over 20,000 followers who will do anything for free. So that's kind of one part of the question is, you know, is product for posts really feasible? Is paid post the standard now? And then Danny also asked a question about compensating for influencers. Like, how do you decide who you're going to compensate? How do you approach an initial offer with an influencer who you want to work with? Especially if you're, you know, don't want to offer payment until you get to see some ROI. So I would just say, like, kind of around this theme of compensation and how to decide who to compensate and how to just sort of negotiation with influencers, I think is kind of the theme here. So if each of you could speak to that a little bit, that would be fabulous.
Yeah, so we still get a ton of influencers that we're able to find who are willing to do product in exchange for posts. Some of them are upwards of 100,000 followers. It is tough. It's not very easy necessarily. We reach out to a ton of influencers, but probably more of a smaller percent actually are able to work with us in exchange for product. I can say though that we do work with influencers who really love our brand and they're going to purchase our products anyway, and they want to share it with their followers and their friends and family. So when we're able to find that connection, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think it has become a little bit more difficult to find these influencers that will do product for posts. You know, they're definitely out there. But I think what you also have to realize is, you know, for a lot of these people, this is kind of what they're doing as their job. And they're really putting in a lot of effort and time to create this beautiful content for you. So I think you just kind of have to think about it both ways. But I know that, kind of like what Michaela said, just we do have these people that reach out and just love our product, and we don't really have to pay them anything. I would say definitely keep searching. They're out there. They are a little bit difficult to find though.
Yeah, and like Maggie said, I mean, we certainly value the time that it takes for people to post and create this beautiful content. You know, we just haven't really had the budget this far to be able to offer more compensation. But, you know, that's where that, you know, really building those genuine relationships and trying to help them on a professional level too. So like reposting their work or asking the right blog posts, or, you know, helping them to build their resume, because a lot of them are getting started in this space.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So I guess a quick follow-up on this kind of question about compensation is, someone asked if you see a difference in CPM for paid partnerships with influencers versus product trade. Do you guys notice any difference there?
I really don't. I apologize. The lawnmowers just came to my house. So sorry. I don't really see a difference. You know, I think it can get a little touchy just because you want to be sure people are creating beautiful content. And if you're just gifting them, I think a good influencer would not at all do that. So you just kind of have to be careful about who you're working with, and make sure they don't just kind of throw up some content that took 2 seconds to shoot. So, but I haven't really seen a difference with that.
Yeah, I haven't either. You know, actually, as we're chatting, something came to mind. It was really interesting. We tested out recently. We gave a person who had 50,000 followers a unique discount code that they could share with their communities, and we gave one to someone who had 8,000 followers. So a pretty big difference. Our 50,000 one, we had 3 purchasers use the discount code, and our 8,000 person one had 53 people use the code. So it's really interesting how, I mean, it just depends on the person's community and how engaged and, you know, how loyal they are to that influencer.
Awesome. Thank you both for sharing. I'm going to keep going because we have a whole bunch of questions. So we got a few questions about searching for influencers. So I think one is just, how do you, if you're going out to search for influencer partners, how do you search? And then to what extent do you rely on search and sourcing creators yourselves versus inbound influencers who want to work with you? And for someone who's reaching out proactively to you, what kind of criteria do you use to vet those folks?
So for us, we use Aspire, obviously. So Aspire makes it really easy. They have a huge database of people that you can go in. You get a certain amount every day to kind of look through and see if there's anyone that would be a good fit for that campaign. Otherwise, you can go into their database and search all day if you wanted to. So it's kind of a balance for us. We do have a ton that actually email us, and if we feel like they're a good fit, we just get them to sign up on Aspire and we work with them through that platform. But otherwise, we do spend probably every day looking through influencers and trying to find good fits for us.
Yeah, definitely similar answer for me. Aspire IQ has been super helpful with that. Like she said, there's recommended people that they think you should work with. We do get a decent amount of emails or people who DM us on Instagram that are interested in working with us. And kind of how we vet those people is we we want to be sure, that their aesthetic kind of aligns with ours. So just taking a look at their feed, and then making sure that their audience aligns with ours as well, just to be sure it'll be a beneficial partnership. And then I think it's also great if you even ask your friends or your coworkers, like have a running list of maybe influencers that they follow and they really like. I know that we've asked that a lot, and it's been really helpful just because obviously if they like them, a bunch of other people will too. So I think that's another way to do it. And I'm just constantly screenshotting people's Instagram handles on my phone. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so another great question we got is, how are you ensuring that you're supporting diverse creators and POC, and making sure that they're getting equal opportunities to partner with your brands?
I can start here. So Brooklinen, just from the beginning, has always just one of their values and goals is to be very inclusive when it comes to just even marketing subway ads and things like that. So we kind of have just been, even during this time, I know that we've been working with these people for a really long time, so nothing's totally changed on our end. And we just want to be sure that, if they're a good fit, then we'll work with you. And it's just kind of that simple.
Yeah, it's very similar strategy. I mean, we've been working, it's very important to us that we've always worked with a group of diverse people, that we're inclusive. So, we've always sort of just been working with people of color and just continuing to do so.
Awesome. Okay, so for another question about just managing and balancing relationships with such a large number of creators. We got a question about how you guys manage to do that, and are you reviewing all and approving all content before it goes live? Have you briefed everyone to make sure that the quality of the content is what you need, is aligned with your brand? And are you getting the rights to boost and amplify all content, or are you just relying purely on organic? So I know that's a lot of questions in one, but I think there are some good ones there, just on the content review piece, and then also on the amplification piece.
Okay, I'll try to answer all of them. Aspire truly helps us out so much. It's very, very streamlined. It's super organized. Like everything is in one place, from conversations to terms to rights. Everything is right there. So yes, we do review and approve all content before it goes live. If it's a static post, we do not do that for our Instagram stories. We don't require it. We want it to feel organic and genuine. So but the static posts we do, and we can do that through Aspire. They have to upload it, and then we can go in and we can make comments or changes. And, as we talked about earlier, like, we want our influencers to be genuine, and we want it to feel like their content. So we don't really make any major changes unless it's very much against our brand standards, or it's, clearly like a wrong statement about a product. Let's see. What else did you ask? Rights to boost and to reuse. Yes, like that's always part of our terms. Because we work with so many, unfortunately at this point, like if an influencer isn't comfortable with that, we usually pass on that partnership, just because it's very hard to manage if most of them are, giving us the rights to repurpose, and then one or two aren't. So for yes, the majority we do. Okay, Maggie, it's your turn.
I will also do my best to try to answer all of these. Same thing, like with Aspire IQ, they make it really easy. There are like guidelines and like talking points that you can just plug in there for every campaign you have. So you don't really have to keep on sending an influencer the same thing. So that's made it really easy. And we are reviewing and approving all content before this goes live. Just because like we were saying, you want to be sure that it does align with your brand. I know I've seen some people who will put in, the wrong percentage for a discount code or something, or maybe some information that isn't correct about the betting. So we just want to double check everything just to be sure that that it's all correct, so their audience doesn't get confused. What else? Boosting and amplifying. So we recently started doing paid Instagram, and I think for the most part, we usually do that afterwards just to see what the content will look like. And I feel some of these people do ask for more money. So we usually wait until after we see the image and see if it does well, or even test it on our social page. And then as far as, we always ask to repost images on our social feed. And we'll always tag the influencer, obviously. We want to be sure that they get the credit for that, so.
Yeah, us too. We always make sure that they're getting credit for what content we're using.
Okay, great. Okay, we got a few questions in, just following up on the sort of product for post theme. I think there's a lot of questions about kind of how to measure success there, and how to ensure creators are actually posting in those types of agreements. So I think the first question on that front is just, do you have a percentage of creators who actually end up following through and posting when you're doing product for post agreement? And then also, do you have creators sign an agreement with you for those types of relationships? So that's one part of it. And then the next part is just, do you see that actually working if sales and purchase are your KPIs? Do you see product for post actually enabling you to drive purchase and sales?
Yeah, so for us, when we start a conversation around a campaign, we want both parties to feel comfortable. So, we negotiate from the beginning, like, hey, we can only send you product. What can you do? So sometimes it's just an Instagram story. Sometimes it's both. And sometimes we'll even send them additional products to help compensate a little bit as well. But in Aspire, we always have an agreement. We always put our influencers in Aspire so everyone is in the same place. And to kind of get through the steps, one of the first steps is this like negotiation and setting up the agreement. So yes, we always have that even when there's free product involved. The percentage of people that post it's pretty high, actually. It's about 70-75%. I do think Aspire, by having a contract, like makes everyone feel more professional about it. So, they know what they're signing on to. Prior to Aspire, when we were in like the wild, wild west of influencer marketing, it was probably closer to like 20% of people that actually ended up posting. But having a contract or having terms set at the very beginning, like, really helps motivate people to do the job.
I would agree. Aspire IQ, they, you have the agreement that everyone needs to agree to, obviously, before anything. So that's really helpful. I know we do some things in-house where we do have a contract that we have people sign, but most of this is over Aspire IQ. I would say, since they are agreeing to something with the product for post, I would say about 70-75% probably post. But you'll always get this one person who doesn't follow through, and you're reaching out to them 8 times. It's been 3 months and I haven't seen the content. So, I think you'll always have a couple people like that, but that's just, I guess, the name of the game. So.
Yeah, and for us, when that happens, we usually don't work with them in the future. So I think that's like a good incentive to meet your terms.
Awesome. Okay, I know we only have 5 minutes left. I'm going to try to get us through a few more. There's kind of a theme of questions around campaign structure. So just in general, what do you see as the most impactful way, successful way to structure a campaign? And then more specifically, we had some questions about, do you focus on product launch campaigns? Do you have evergreen campaigns that you're working with creators on? And to what extent do you center a campaign around a specific product versus sort of letting the influencer kind of center their posts around themselves and kind of like integrating with their own story that they're sharing on their pages? So just a few questions on that front, if you can talk about, how you guys typically approach a campaign structure and the extent to which you focus on product launches versus something else.
Yeah, I'll start this one. So I would say right now, we really just kind of break it out, like I was saying, like bedding and then bath and then loungewear. So it's kind of based on the product. And I think that's just makes it easier, especially like we were saying, you can go in and put guidelines in and Aspire IQ and talking points, and that just makes it easier. So you have the same talking points for each, specific product. We have done some before, like, I usually always will do like a Black Friday campaign. And just depending on how large the launch is, we will do like a product specific one or a specific campaign for a launch. So like when we came out with loungewear, that was a big launch for us. And we wanted to be sure we had a lot of influencers posting about that. So I think it just depends on kind of what works best for you. So we kind of see just dividing it up by category is good. But I think it's really up to you. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read this other question. Okay, I think I answered all the questions. I don't know.
Yeah, you're great. You're doing great.
Yeah, and for us, it's primarily product focused. So let's say it's our Sunless Tan collection. We'll pick 2 or 3 products that we want people to talk about. We'll give a theme. So like, show us how you're, practicing self-care during quarantine. We'll send you these products. Here are a few like optional talking points, like go with it. But other times we've done it a little bit more evergreen or where it's around a theme. So Earth Month is April. Coola is very much about sustainability and using organic and fresh ingredients. So, we did a campaign where we had them talk about the packaging and how it was, recyclable and how Coola is like sustainability practices are scaling. And like, it was really interesting. And actually, it was one of the first times we've done that kind of campaign, and it performed really well. Like the engagement of people actually making comments on our influencers post was much higher than usual. Product launches, we certainly do that. We will usually select a certain amount of influencers. We send them a message prior to the actual launch, and we say like, hey, we're going to send this to you before. We want you to try it. We want you to like give us your thoughts first and foremost, but then, be the first to talk about it on the actual launch day. And that's done very well in the past too.
Okay, I wish we could answer all of these. There are so many good questions, but I think I'll end with a couple great questions about vetting and checking for authenticity, since that was such a theme of our conversation. So we had someone ask, what is a good protocol for checking authenticity of micro influencers that you're vetting? What are some warning signs to watch out for? How can you tell if someone's paying for followers? So any thoughts on that front about just really ensuring the authenticity of the creators that you partner with?
Well, Aspire IQ allows you to do that. When an influencer comes in, they're like connected, like they have to connect all their social platforms. And so you can go in and Aspire will automatically let you know like how authentic are their followers, like are they paid, or like what's the engagement levels. That is really useful. Otherwise, to be honest, it'd be really hard to manage with all of the influencers that we work with. We do though go into each of their social media platforms prior to working, and we check to make sure that they're aligned with what our brand standards and core messages are too.
All right, I'll make this quick. I think that, so again, with Aspire IQ, it's great that we can check everything on there. And I know some people who just reach out to us, via email. A lot of them attach their like audience demographics, and we usually always ask for this as well. So like if someone is like, you know, lives in New York, but a majority of their audience is in like Brazil or something, you know, that's kind of usually a red flag for us. Just kind of making, and we also really just try to focus on US and Canada. So just making sure that that's aligned. So if you don't have the platform or the tool, I would say that's one good way to kind of figure that out. Or even like go in the comments section and you'll see kind of like random letters and numbers jumbled, and you kind of know it's a fake account and just random people are commenting on it to boost their engagement or whatever.
Awesome. Well, we are officially out of time. This has been a really interesting discussion for me. I hope you guys all enjoyed hearing from these amazing marketing and influencer marketing leaders. Thank you, Arpan, for moderating this conversation. I wish we had more time to answer everyone's questions, but feel free to reach out to us at Aspire. We'd love to chat with you more about our platform and some of our thoughts on where the industry is going. And this will be the first of many events in this series. So we hope you'll come back and join us again in the future. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.